Imagine a world without peanut butter. A grim thought, isn't it? But what if I told you that the man most famous for popularizing the peanut, a man born into the brutal reality of slavery, saw so much more than just a tasty spread? He saw a path to liberation for his people, a way to heal the ravaged lands of the American South, and a future built on the humble goober pea. This isn't just the story of an inventor. This is the story of a visionary, a spiritualist, a quiet revolutionary who wielded a microscope instead of a sword and transformed the destiny of a nation, one peanut at a time. The man was George Washington Carver, but his journey from a stolen infant named simply Carver's George to a globally renowned scientist is a tale far more complex and astounding than you could ever imagine. Born into the chaos of the Civil War around 1864, George's life began in chains. He and his mother were kidnapped by night raiders, a common and terrifying fate for enslaved people. His owner, Moses Carver, hired a man to track them down, but only the frail, sickly infant George was found and returned. Orphaned and in poor health, he wasn't fit for strenuous field labor. Instead, the Carvers raised him in their home, where his insatiable curiosity found an outlet. He roamed the woods and fields, collecting rocks, plants, and flowers. The local farmers, noticing his uncanny ability to nurse sick plants back to health, began calling him the plant doctor. This wasn't just a childhood hobby. It was the first sign of a brilliant mind at work, a mind that saw the intricate, hidden world of botany long before he could even read a textbook about it. His thirst for knowledge was unquenchable. At about age 11, he left the Carver farm, seeking an education that was denied to black children in his town. This began a decade of wandering through the Midwest, moving from one town to the next, working odd jobs as a cook and a launderer, all to put himself through school. He faced relentless discrimination, once being accepted into a college only to be turned away on his first day when they discovered he was black. Can you imagine the heartbreak? Yet Carver never surrendered to bitterness. He persevered, eventually enrolling at Simpson College in Iowa to study art and music. His artistic talent was immense. His paintings of flowers and plants were exquisite. But his art teacher saw something more. She saw his detailed botanical drawings and urged him to pursue his true passion, science. Following her advice, Carver transferred to the Iowa State Agricultural College, now Iowa State University. He was the first black student in the school's history. There, he excelled, earning both a bachelor's and a master's degree in agriculture. His professors were so impressed they urged him to stay on as a faculty member, a groundbreaking achievement. He was a respected botanist and researcher, his future in mainstream academia secure. But then, a letter arrived that would change his life and the course of Southern agriculture forever. It was from Booker T. Washington, the founder of the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, a new school dedicated to educating African Americans. Washington had a monumental task: to lift his people from the crushing poverty of the post-Reconstruction South. He needed help. He needed a visionary. He needed George Washington Carver. Washington's offer was simple yet profound. I cannot offer you money, position, or fame. I offer you the opportunity to drain the cup of sacrifice for your people. For Carver, the choice was clear. He left his prestigious post in Iowa and headed south, to a region whose soil was depleted and whose people were trapped in a cycle of debt and cotton dependency. At Tuskegee, he was given a dilapidated shed and a barren 20-acre plot of land. To his students, this looked like failure. To Carver, it was a blank canvas. He and his students scoured trash heaps for jars, wire, and wood, building their own laboratory from scratch. They used manure from the barns and rich soil from the swamp to rejuvenate the exhausted land. This wasn't just about farming. It was a lesson in self-reliance, ingenuity, and seeing value where others saw only waste. Carver's mission was to break the South's addiction to cotton. Decades of planting the same crop had stripped the soil of its nutrients, especially nitrogen. Farmers were getting smaller yields each year, trapping them in poverty. Carver knew the answer lay in crop rotation. He encouraged farmers to plant nitrogen-fixing crops like peanuts, soybeans, and sweet potatoes. These crops would replenish the soil, allowing it to produce healthy cotton again. But there was a problem. The farmers listened, the soil healed, and suddenly, they had mountains of peanuts and sweet potatoes they couldn't sell. There was no market for them. The farmers were on the verge of ruin, their trust in Carver shattered. They came to him angry and desperate. What were they supposed to do with all these peanuts? This was Carver's moment of truth. He locked himself in his laboratory, praying for guidance. He then began to break the peanut down to its chemical components. What he discovered would change everything. Over the next several years, he developed over 300 new uses for the peanut. This wasn't just peanut butter and oil. We're talking about milk, cheese, flour, ink, dyes, plastics, cosmetics, and even medical oils. He did the same for the sweet potato, creating over 100 products, including molasses, postage stamp glue, and synthetic rubber. He wasn't just an inventor, he was creating entire new industries from the ground up, all from plants that could be grown by the poorest farmers. He freely gave these discoveries away, refusing to patent most of them, declaring, "God gave them to me. How can I sell them to someone else?" His fame exploded in 1921 when he was invited to speak before the U.S. House Ways and Means Committee. They were debating a tariff on imported peanuts, and the peanut growers of the South needed a champion. The committee, all white, gave Carver a mere 10 minutes to speak. Skeptical and dismissive, they watched as this humble black professor from Alabama began to speak. He spoke with such passion, knowledge, and charm, demonstrating the incredible potential of the humble peanut, that his 10 minutes stretched into nearly 2 hours. The congressmen were captivated. They gave him a standing ovation and passed the tariff, securing a new economic future for the Southern farmer. George Washington Carver was now a national hero, known affectionately as the Peanut Man. But to call him the Peanut Man is to miss the true depth of his genius. Carver was a holistic thinker, an early environmentalist who preached sustainability long before it was a buzzword. He saw the interconnectedness of all things, the health of the soil, the economic freedom of his people, and the spiritual harmony of nature. He famously rose every morning at 4 a.m. to walk in the woods, talking to the flowers. He said these little brothers in the woods revealed their secrets to him. For Carver, science and faith were not separate. They were two sides of the same coin, both pathways to understanding the divine Creator's work. He saw God's hand in every leaf, every soil microbe, every chemical reaction in his lab. Despite his fame, he remained a humble man, living a simple life on the Tuskegee campus. He advised presidents like Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin D. Roosevelt, and was sought out by figures like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. Ford built a replica of Carver's original log cabin birthplace at his museum, and tried to lure Carver to work for him for a massive salary, but Carver always refused, remaining dedicated to Tuskegee. His life wasn't about personal wealth, it was about service. He donated his life savings to create the George Washington Carver Museum and the Carver Research Foundation at Tuskegee, ensuring his work would continue long after he was gone. He passed away in 1943, leaving behind a legacy not measured in patents or dollars, but in healed land and empowered lives. George Washington Carver's story is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He transformed the residue of slavery into a foundation for scientific discovery. He took the poorest soil and made it rich. He took a humble legume and turned it into a symbol of economic hope. He showed the world that genius has no race, and that true wealth lies not in what you have, but in what you give away. So the next time you see a jar of peanuts, remember the quiet revolutionary who saw in them a universe of possibility. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the life of a true American icon. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more hidden histories. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.